Imagine sitting across from a mind that has consistently beaten the markets for decades, a mind that treats risk like a finely tuned instrument rather than a gamble. Stanley Druckenmiller, the legendary investor behind some of the most remarkable financial feats in history, doesn't just talk numbers, he talks life, strategy, and decision-making in a way that sharpens your thinking instantly. His approach isn't about following formulas or mimicking trends. It's about mastering a mindset, making decisive moves, and understanding the subtle rules that separate ordinary results from extraordinary success. In exploring Druckenmiller's 5 life rules, we uncover the principles that guided a billionaire's choices and learn how to apply them to our own pursuit of achievement. Prioritizing understanding over ego is the foundation upon which every great decision is built, and Stanley Druckenmiller has repeatedly demonstrated that this principle is far more valuable than any fleeting sense of pride. In the fast-moving world of investing, where fortunes can be made or lost in a matter of hours, many people fall into the trap of acting to prove themselves rather than acting to understand. Druckenmiller's success was never about being right in front of others or showcasing intelligence. It was about deeply comprehending the forces at play and letting that comprehension drive action. He constantly emphasizes that ego clouds judgment, making even brilliant people vulnerable to errors that could have been avoided with a calm, analytical mind. The thrill of a high-stakes decision is seductive, but without understanding, it is a dangerous thrill that can lead to catastrophic outcomes. For him, the ability to separate one's sense of self-worth from the quality of one's decisions is a skill that must be mastered if one wants to operate at the highest levels of success. Understanding begins with listening, observing, and questioning assumptions relentlessly. Druckenmiller often points out that markets are not static. They are influenced by countless variables, from interest rates and geopolitical events to human psychology and technological disruptions. No single person can fully grasp every detail, which is why humility and a commitment to learning are indispensable. He approaches every situation with curiosity rather than defensiveness, willing to challenge his own beliefs if the data and evidence demand it. This willingness to question oneself is a hallmark of prioritizing understanding over ego, because it requires acknowledging that no matter how experienced or accomplished you are, you don't have all the answers. It's a mindset that transforms mistakes from threats into opportunities for deeper insight. And for Druckenmiller, each error is a lesson that sharpens future decisions rather than a blow to pride. Another critical aspect of this principle is patience. In a world obsessed with speed, immediate gratification, and constant validation, the ability to pause and seek clarity is a rare and powerful skill. Druckenmiller demonstrates that acting impulsively to impress others or to appear decisive often backfires, whereas careful analysis rooted in understanding produces far more reliable results. The patience to wait until the picture is clear, to synthesize complex information, and to see the potential consequences before acting is not a weakness but a competitive advantage. By prioritizing understanding, he ensures that every move is informed and calculated, rather than reactive or ego-driven. This patience extends beyond markets into life decisions as well. Whether evaluating a new opportunity, considering a partnership, or reflecting on personal growth, he applies the same rigorous approach: gather the facts, understand the dynamics, and let reason, not ego, determine the next step. Druckenmiller's approach also involves actively seeking out perspectives that challenge his own. Surrounding oneself with yes men is a recipe for disaster because it reinforces existing beliefs without testing their validity. He deliberately exposes himself to dissenting views, counterarguments, and uncomfortable truths because understanding requires seeing beyond one's personal biases. This is where ego often becomes a silent enemy, as it pushes people to dismiss anything that threatens their self-image. Druckenmiller knows that the market in life does not bend to one's pride. By embracing a mindset where the goal is comprehension rather than personal validation, he consistently uncovers insights others miss. This willingness to confront complexity head-on and to absorb lessons from diverse viewpoints enables him to make decisions that are both bold and precise, and it is a major factor in his extraordinary track record. The pursuit of understanding over ego also demands emotional discipline. It's one thing to intellectually grasp the importance of clarity, it's another to act on it under pressure. Druckenmiller frequently stresses that human emotions, fear, greed, pride, and shame, can distort perception and lead to catastrophic decisions. By conditioning himself to respond to facts rather than feelings, he maintains a level of objectivity that allows him to see opportunities and risks with remarkable clarity. This discipline is cultivated over years of experience, rigorous reflection, and an unwavering commitment to the principle that understanding must always take precedence. The thrill of winning, the sting of loss, and the temptation to outshine are all secondary to the primary objective: make decisions based on insight and analysis, not ego. This focus on understanding over ego is not only practical but liberating. It frees the mind from the constraints of fear and pride, allowing one to navigate complex situations with creativity, agility, and confidence. Druckenmiller exemplifies how letting go of the need to be right or to impress others opens the door to clarity and innovation. It transforms every challenge into a puzzle to be solved rather than a stage on which to perform, and it cultivates a mindset that thrives on learning, adaptation, and long-term vision. By consistently prioritizing comprehension over self-image, he has been able to anticipate market movements, identify unique opportunities, and make decisions that might have considered too risky or unconventional, all while maintaining the integrity of his process and the stability of his judgment. In practice, this means approaching each decision with deliberate inquiry. What do I truly understand about the situation? What assumptions am I making, and are they valid? How might my personal biases or desire for recognition distort my perception? Druckenmiller treats these questions as essential tools for survival and success, ensuring that every action is guided by knowledge rather than ego-driven impulse. By internalizing this principle, anyone can start to navigate uncertainty with greater confidence, turning complexity into advantage and transforming the pressure of high-stakes environments into opportunities for clarity and growth. Embracing calculated risks is the second pillar of Druckenmiller's philosophy, and it is here that the difference between mediocre and exceptional results becomes most apparent. While many people instinctively avoid risk, equating it with danger or recklessness, Druckenmiller understands that risk is not the enemy. It is a tool, a lever that, when used wisely, can magnify opportunities and create outsized outcomes. The key lies in distinguishing between blind risk and informed risk. The first is impulsive, guided by emotion, ego, or the illusion of control. The second is deliberate, informed by deep understanding, careful analysis, and a clear view of potential rewards and consequences. He treats risk like a craftsman treats a finely tuned instrument, assessing each variable, testing assumptions, and ensuring that every move is aligned with strategy rather than impulse. The thrill of high-stakes investment is undeniable, but for Druckenmiller, it is not the thrill itself that drives him. It is the calculated application of risk to achieve a result that others might deem impossible or too daunting to attempt. Understanding risk begins with rigorous preparation. Druckenmiller devotes immense energy to studying markets, trends, and historical patterns. He knows that the unexpected is inevitable, but preparation reduces the unknowns, transforming what might appear as dangerous into a measured opportunity. By mapping out scenarios, anticipating possible outcomes, and quantifying exposure, he converts abstract risk into actionable insight. This method allows him to act boldly in moments when others hesitate, and to retreat strategically when the conditions are unfavorable. It is a paradoxical blend of courage and caution, where fear is acknowledged but never allowed to dominate decision-making. Many investors shy away from positions that carry perceived risk, missing opportunities that only reveal themselves to those willing to confront uncertainty with intelligence and composure. For Druckenmiller, risk is not something to eliminate, it is something to master. Calculated risk also requires an acute awareness of timing. Acting too early or too late can turn even the most promising opportunity into a loss, so patience and precision are vital. Druckenmiller studies the flow of events with relentless attention, waiting for the optimal moment when probabilities are stacked in his favor. This is where his discipline shines. He does not chase trends or speculate recklessly. Instead, he waits until the evidence is overwhelming, the setup is clear, and the potential payoff justifies exposure. The ability to wait with impatience is what separates someone who occasionally guesses correctly from someone who consistently outperforms the market. It is not luck that drives Druckenmiller's success. It is a sophisticated understanding of when and how to act, coupled with a willingness to accept temporary uncertainty for the chance of extraordinary gain. Embracing calculated risk also demands the humility to recognize limits, no matter how skilled or experienced. No one can predict the future with absolute certainty. Druckenmiller constantly acknowledges this, adjusting positions and expectations accordingly. This humility does not weaken his strategy, it strengthens it, allowing him to manage exposure and protect against catastrophic outcomes by balancing audacity with realism. He can take positions that others might consider unthinkable, while maintaining a safety net against unforeseen developments. This approach requires both mental toughness and emotional control, because it is easy to become overconfident after a series of wins or overly cautious after a setback. Druckenmiller's mastery of calculated risk lies in his ability to navigate this tension, embracing opportunity without letting ego or fear dictate behavior. Another aspect of calculated risk is the recognition that extraordinary results require stepping beyond comfort zones. Ordinary thinking yields ordinary outcomes, and those unwilling to confront uncertainty rarely achieve greatness. Druckenmiller demonstrates that risk-taking is not about reckless speculation or gambling. It is about pursuing positions where the potential rewards justify the possibility of failure. He deliberately identifies asymmetrical opportunities. Where the upside is substantial, the probability of success is measurable, and the downside is controlled. This approach transforms fear into strategy, allowing him to act decisively in situations that would paralyze others. By framing risk in terms of potential gain and manageable loss, he converts uncertainty into leverage, turning volatility into a strategic advantage. The process also involves constant revaluation. A calculated risk is not a static commitment. It is a dynamic strategy that must respond to changing conditions. Druckenmiller monitors positions, assesses new data, and adjusts exposure as necessary, refusing to cling to outdated assumptions or stubbornly defend prior decisions. This flexibility is a hallmark of his approach, allowing him to capture gains and mitigate losses with remarkable efficiency. The willingness to act decisive changes, cutting losses or taking profits, is as crucial as identifying the initial opportunity. Calculated risk in Druckenmiller's framework is not about holding on for pride or hoping circumstances improve. It is about actively managing the balance between potential reward and possible danger at every stage. Ultimately, embracing calculated risks transforms fear into focus and opportunity into results. Druckenmiller exemplifies how approaching uncertainty with insight, discipline, and courage creates a pathway to extraordinary achievement by refusing to let fear dictate behavior, yet never ignoring the real dangers inherent in any decision. He turns risk into a strategic instrument rather than a source of anxiety. Each move is deliberate, each position is informed, and each choice reflects a mindset that prizes understanding and preparation above all else. This approach allows him to capitalize on moments when others hesitate, to seize opportunities that others overlook, and to operate at a level of precision and daring that defines a truly exceptional investor. Staying flexible and adapting quickly is the third cornerstone of Druckenmiller's philosophy, and it is this principle that often separates extraordinary achievers from those who plateau despite talent or effort. In a world that moves faster than ever, whether in financial markets or life itself, rigidity can be fatal. Druckenmiller's career is a masterclass in the art of agility, showing that even the most well-laid plans must be subordinate to reality. He recognizes that conditions are constantly changing, that yesterday's certainties are often today's misjudgments, and that success depends not on clinging stubbornly to ideas but on the ability to pivot intelligently. This is not flexibility for the sake of decision or opportunism. It is a disciplined, strategic responsiveness, a readiness to adjust one's position based on evidence, not pride. Thrill exists in the ability to sense the shifts before others, to recognize subtle patterns and emerging trends, and to act decisively when those changes demand a new course. Adaptation begins with observation and awareness. Druckenmiller emphasizes the importance of paying attention to every relevant signal. The macroeconomic shifts, the political currents, and the undercurrents of human behavior that influence markets and decisions. He trains himself to notice when others overlook, to detect inconsistencies between prevailing assumptions and reality. This constant scanning allows him to update his understanding and recalibrate strategies almost in real time. Flexibility is meaningless without information, and Druckenmiller's discipline in monitoring the world ensures that when change occurs, he is not caught off guard. He thrives in complexity because he does not rely on static rules or rigid formulas. Instead, he responds to nuance, adjusting strategies to align with the evolving landscape. The thrill of this approach lies in the mental agility it cultivates, the ability to think several steps ahead, anticipate shifts, and remain poised to capitalize on opportunity as it emerges. Quick adaptation also requires decisiveness. Recognizing a shift is only valuable if it is followed by immediate action. Druckenmiller does not hesitate once the evidence demands change. This decisiveness is not impulsive, it is the result of experience, analysis, and confidence in one's judgment. Many individuals struggle in dynamic situations because they are emotionally attached to previous decisions, unwilling to admit that circumstances have changed. Druckenmiller demonstrates that the cost of delay is often greater than the discomfort of adjustment. By embracing the need to move quickly when the situation evolves, he consistently positions himself ahead of the curve, capturing gains that those wedded to old frameworks miss entirely. The combination of speed, insight, and confidence creates a rhythm of operation in which opportunity is seized rather than lost. Flexibility also involves a mindset that embraces uncertainty rather than fearing it. Druckenmiller understands that no plan survives perfectly intact, and that holding rigid expectations only leads to frustration or missed chances. He cultivates the mental discipline to let go of attachment to specific outcomes, allowing him to respond creatively to unexpected developments. This openness does not mean randomness. It is guided by principles and frameworks that have proven reliable, but it allows for improvisation within those frameworks. He thrives in environments of volatility where others see chaos, because he can adjust instantly, assessing probabilities and shifting course in a manner that appears almost fluid. The thrill of operating with this level of adaptive mastery is profound, as it transforms what might paralyze others into a landscape rich with opportunity and insight. Another dimension of adaptability is learning from experience. Druckenmiller constantly reviews past decisions, analyzing what worked, what didn't, and why. Flexibility is meaning as if it does not evolve based on lessons learned. He uses this reflective process to refine instincts, improve response time, and sharpen judgment. By internalizing these lessons, he develops a mental map of patterns and tendencies that allows him to anticipate future changes more effectively. This cycle of action, observation, reflection, and adjustment becomes a dynamic engine for growth and opportunity, where each adaptation builds a deeper reservoir of insight. In this way, agility is both a practice and a skill, continuously honed through conscious effort and real-world experience. Adaptation also demands a willingness to abandon outdated ideas without hesitation. Many people cling to notions of how things should be, whether due to ego, habit, or fear of admitting error. Druckenmiller demonstrates that holding on to such attachments is one of the fastest ways to fail. True flexibility means treating ideas as hypotheses rather than sacred truths, testing them, discarding them when they no longer serve, and being ready to embrace alternatives. This willingness to pivot, often under pressure and in high-stakes situations, requires emotional resilience, the ability to accept change without panic, to adjust without regret, and to see the strategic advantage in every shift is what allows him to remain ahead of both the market and the competition. The thrill of staying flexible and adapting quickly lies in the empowerment it provides. Instead of being constrained by circumstances, one learns to move with them, to turn disruption into advantage, and to thrive in uncertainty. Druckenmiller's success shows that those who master this skill operate in a realm where opportunity is always present, and risk is managed intelligently through responsiveness rather than avoidance. It is a mindset that rewards vigilance, decisiveness, and creativity, enabling one to capture openings that rigid thinkers miss and to navigate complexity with confidence and precision. Every moment of change becomes a chance to act with insight, proving that adaptability is not just a survival mechanism, but a source of strategic power. Focusing on the big opportunities rather than getting lost in small wins is the fourth principle that defines Druckenmiller's approach, and it is a mindset that's separately exceptional from the merely competent. In a world obsessed with incremental gains and constant activity, most people fall into the trap of busy work, mistaking movement for progress. Druckenmiller consistently demonstrates that long-term success is rarely the result of chasing minor victories or proving competence in trivial arenas. Instead, it comes from identifying the high-leverage opportunities where skill, timing, and insight intersect, and then committing fully to exploiting them. The thrill of this strategy lies not in constant action, but in the disciplined pursuit of the moments that truly matter, the positions and decisions capable of creating outsized results. While others expend energy on inconsequential gains, Druckenmiller channels focus and resources where the impact is exponential. This principle requires a keen sense of prioritization. Druckenmiller has a unique ability to discern between noise and signal, recognizing which opportunities are truly transformative and which are distractions. In financial markets, this means understanding which trends or investments have the potential to produce substantial returns and which will deliver marginal gains at the cost of time, energy, and focus. The same approach applies to life outside of markets, whether evaluating partnerships, career moves, or personal goals. He seeks those decisions that hold disproportionate upside. By concentrating attention on high-value areas, he maximizes the effect of every action while minimizing wasted effort. This selective focus is thrilling because it turns the overwhelming complexity of choices into a landscape where clarity, insight, and decisiveness reign supreme. Committing to big opportunities also involves courage. While minor wins may be safe and easily achievable, high-leverage opportunities almost always carry risk, uncertainty, and resistance. Druckenmiller understands that hesitation or fear of failure is the enemy of significant achievement. The willingness to step into positions or situations where the potential payoff justifies the inherent uncertainty is what allows him to achieve results far beyond what average participants in the market or in life accomplish. This courage is not reckless bravado, it is a calculated resolve built upon research, understanding, and strategic judgment. By embracing the challenge of high-stakes opportunities, he positions himself in the rarefied space where true impact is possible. The thrill here is not merely in success, but in the pursuit of moments that others avoid, in seeing potential where most see danger, and in acting decisively when conditions align. Discipline is another critical component of focusing on the big opportunities. Druckenmiller does not chase every promising idea or invest in every trend. Instead, he waits patiently, scanning the landscape for the opportunities with the highest expected payoff. This requires resisting the temptation of immediate gratification and small wins that can create the illusion of progress. Many people confuse motion with momentum, taking action simply to feel productive. Druckenmiller's brilliance is in his ability to separate business from meaningful progress, understanding that time and attention are finite resources that must be devoted to endeavors capable of producing transformative results. The mental discipline to ignore the noise and can a few high, leverage moves ensures that every decision carries maximum potential impact. Part of this focus on big opportunities also involves thinking asymmetrically. Druckenmiller seeks situations where the upside is significantly greater than the downside, where a single well-timed move can produce results that dwarf incremental gains accumulated over years of smaller bets. This approach requires not only insight but imagination, the ability to envision outcomes that others dismiss as unlikely or overly ambitious. By framing decisions in terms of disparate potential, he maximizes the efficiency of risk and capital, turning volatility and uncertainty into opportunities rather than obstacles. The excitement in this approach comes from the awareness that strategic boldness, when applied with understanding and preparation, can create outcomes that fundamentally alter trajectories and open doors that would otherwise remain closed. Another dimension of this principle is patience and execution. Big opportunities often take time to materialize, and the most rewarding positions may require endurance, resilience, and the ability to withstand temporary adversity. Druckenmiller understands that immediate results are often misleading, while true breakthroughs require observation, timing, and the willingness to stay committed until the conditions fully align. This patience is coupled with vigilance. It is not passive waiting, but an active monitoring of the environment to ensure that when the right moment arrives, action can be taken decisively and without hesitation. The thrill comes not from speed, but from the calculated anticipation and the eventual payoff when insight, preparation, and timing converge. Focusing on high-leverage opportunities also encourages a mindset of continuous evaluation. Druckenmiller constantly assesses the relative potential of different positions, abandoning those that no longer offer substantial upside and relocating attention where the expected impact is greatest. This flexibility ensures that effort is never wasted and that attention is always directed toward endeavors capable of generating extraordinary results. By combining patience, courage, selective focus, and the pursuit of asymmetrical returns, he operates in a realm where the odds are stacked in favor of meaningful achievement rather than incremental progress. The thrill of this approach in the mastery of choice, the ability to see opportunity where others see noise, to act boldly when conditions are ripe, and to avoid being trapped in the trap of small, inconsequential wins. Learning from mistakes and avoiding repeating them is the fifth principle that defines Druckenmiller's approach, and it is perhaps the most quietly powerful of all. While many people fear failure, seeing it as a source of shame or a sign of incompetence, Druckenmiller treats mistakes as invaluable lessons, opportunities to refine judgment and improve decision-making. He recognizes that errors are inevitable in any high-stakes pursuit, whether in investing, business, or life. But what separates extraordinary achievers from the rest is how they respond. The thrill of this approach comes from transforming setbacks into fuel for growth, converting what could be demoralizing experiences into sources of clarity and insight. Rather than fearing mistakes, he engages with them directly, dissecting them with precision and extracting the truths they reveal. The first step in learning from mistakes is rigorous self-reflection. Druckenmiller does not shy away from examining his decisions, even when the outcomes are painful. He studies the thought processes that led to errors, the assumptions that proved false, and the emotional reactions that clouded judgment. This process requires honesty, humility, and courage, because it forces him to confront uncomfortable realities about his own thinking. Many people gloss over mistakes, blaming external factors or dismissing them as anomalies, but Druckenmiller treats each misstep as a diagnostic tool, a chance to understand not just what went wrong, but why it went wrong, and how to prevent similar errors in the future. By maintaining this analytical rigor, he turns failure into a structured pathway for improvement. Part of this principle also involves distinguishing between systemic errors and isolated misjudgments. Druckenmiller carefully analyzes whether a mistake was a result of flawed strategy, poor information, or simple bad luck. Understanding the root cause is critical because it determines how to respond. If a pattern of misjudgment emerges, it signals the need for a deeper recalibration of thinking, strategy, or process. If the mistake was situational, it provides an opportunity to refine tactical execution without undermining the overall framework. The ability to make this distinction quickly and accurately ensures that learning is precise rather than generalized, turning every failure into intelligence that sharpens future decisions. Avoiding repetition of mistakes also requires discipline and memory. Druckenmiller keeps track of past decisions and outcomes, maintaining a mental or documented repository of lessons learned. This allows him to recognize familiar patterns and prevent old errors from resurfacing. Many people fail to capitalize on experience because they rely on memory alone, which is often selective or biased. By formalizing the process of reflection and review, he creates a system for institutionalizing wisdom. Each failure becomes a stored lesson, each insight a tool for future action. The thrill here lies in the empowerment that comes from knowing that no misstep is wasted, that every error contributes to a growing reservoir of strategic knowledge and foresight. Emotional resilience is another key component of this principle. Mistakes often trigger fear, regret, or frustration, and allowing these emotions to dominate can lead to repeated errors or paralysis. Druckenmiller trains himself to respond rationally rather than emotionally, acknowledging the discomfort of a mistake while separating it from the process of decision-making. He sees each error as a temporary setback, a signal rather than a verdict, and he refuses to let pride, embarrassment, or fear dictate his next move. This emotional discipline ensures that learning is active and precise rather than reactive or clouded by bias. The thrill comes from the clarity that emerges when emotion is mastered, when failure is stripped of drama and reframed as raw data to guide better decisions. Learning from mistakes also involves curiosity and open-mindedness. Druckenmiller is constantly asking questions. What did I miss? What assumptions were incorrect? How did the market, environment, or behavior of others contribute to the outcome? By maintaining this inquisitive stance, he transforms every error into a puzzle to be solved, a story to be understood, and a lesson to be applied. This mindset turns setbacks into a source of intellectual excitement rather than fear, cultivating a sense of mastery over the unpredictable forces that influence results. He treats mistakes as feedback loops, each one offering insight into patterns, trends, and human behavior that can inform future decisions. Another critical element is the willingness to take corrective action. Learning is incomplete if it does not result in tangible change. Druckenmiller adjusts strategies, revises assumptions, and fine-tunes execution to ensure that the same missteps are not repeated. This requires courage, because admitting error often comes with reputational or financial consequences, and it demands vigilance, as complacency or overconfidence can allow old habits to creep back in. The thrill of this principle lies in its transformative power. A mistake is no longer an endpoint, but a launchpad, a mechanism for evolution that continually enhances skill, judgment, and strategic vision. By systematically learning from mistakes, Druckenmiller creates a compounding advantage. Each error becomes a stepping stone, each insight a weapon in the pursuit of superior results. He demonstrates that failure is not an enemy to be feared, but a teacher to be revered, and that mastery is achieved not by avoiding mistakes, but by engaging with them fully, extracting their lessons, and applying them relentlessly. This mindset turns risk into wisdom, volatility into understanding, and uncertainty into a source of opportunity. It is a dynamic process in which every setback sharpens perception, every error refines judgment, and every lesson learned becomes a strategic advantage that propels action with confidence, precision, and thrill. Protecting capital above all else is the sixth and perhaps most uncompromising principle in Druckenmiller's playbook, and it is the thread that ties all his strategies together into a coherent approach to life and investing. While many are seduced by the lure of potential gains, Druckenmiller recognizes that without preservation of the foundation, all opportunities and successes are fleeting. Capital, whether financial, intellectual, or emotional, is the essential resource that enables action, growth, and leverage. He treats it as sacred, understanding that reckless exposure, overconfidence, or misjudged risk can destroy the very platform on which opportunity rests. This mindset transforms risk-taking from a game of chance into a disciplined pursuit, where every position is measured against the paramount goal of ensuring survival and readiness for the next move. The thrill of his approach comes not from gambling on outcomes, but from the calculated confidence that comes from knowing the downside has been meticulously controlled. The first aspect of protecting capital is disciplined risk management. Druckenmiller does not chase every attractive opportunity. He evaluates potential losses as carefully as potential gains. He establishes parameters for exposure, ensuring that even when bets do not go as planned, they do not threaten the integrity of his overall position. Many investors fail precisely because they focus solely on upside potential, ignoring the catastrophic consequences of a single poorly managed decision. Druckenmiller turns this conventional approach on its head. He prioritizes the question, what could go wrong and can I survive it, over how much can I make? This mindset requires both humility and vigilance, acknowledging that luck is unpredictable and the market is unforgiving to those who overextend. Protecting capital also demands the patience to wait for favorable conditions. Druckenmiller understands that forcing action or attempting to chase opportunities is one of the fastest ways to erode resources. He waits for positions where the odds are overwhelmingly in his favor and the risk-reward balance is clear. This discipline allows him to act decisively when the moment is right, rather than being pressured by fear, greed, or external expectations. The thrill comes not from constant motion, but from operating in a state of readiness, knowing that when the right opportunity presents itself, he can seize it fully without compromising security. By ensuring that the foundation remains intact, he maintains the flexibility and capacity to engage with high-impact opportunities when they arise. Another critical dimension of capital protection is the avoidance of permanent loss. Druckenmiller is famously cautious about situations that could irreversibly damage his resources. He differentiates between temporary setbacks, which can be weathered or corrected, and catastrophic failures, which undermine long-term viability. This approach demands constant vigilance, foresight, and the mental toughness to cut losses quickly when conditions deteriorate. Many people are tempted to hold on to losing positions out of pride, hope, or stubbornness, but Druckenmiller understands that survival is the prerequisite for future opportunity. Protecting capital is not passive, it is active, requiring constant monitoring, evaluation, and adjustment to preserve the platform from which advantage can be leveraged. The principle extends beyond financial assets to time, energy, and reputation. Druckenmiller treats these forms of capital with the same reverence he applies to monetary resources. Misallocated effort, unwise commitments, or engagements that compromise integrity are treated as threats to capital. By safeguarding these elements, he ensures that he retains the ability to act decisively and creatively in pursuit of high-leverage opportunities. This holistic view of capital elevates the concept beyond spreadsheets and portfolios. It becomes a philosophy for sustainable success, where preservation enables the freedom to take intelligent risks and seize transformative moments. The thrill is psychological as well as strategic. Knowing that the core resources are secure empowers boldness without recklessness, confidence without overreach. Protecting capital also intersects with risk evaluation and adaptability. Druckenmiller constantly monitors positions for emerging threats, ready to shift strategy or exit when the environment changes. This vigilance transforms uncertainty from a source of anxiety into a tool for informed action. By prioritizing capital protection, he maintains the optionality to act decisively when new opportunities arise, turning volatility and disruption into a competitive advantage. Others may be forced into reactive decisions because they have compromised their foundation, but he maintains control and agency precisely because he has prioritized survival. The thrill lies in this leverage, the capacity to act boldly while remaining insulated from catastrophic loss. This principle requires a long-term perspective. Druckenmiller thinks in terms of decades, not quarters, understanding that short-term gains mean little if the foundation is destroyed in pursuit of them. He builds strategies that survive adverse conditions and capitalize on favorable ones, always ensuring that resources are preserved for the next opportunity. This mindset fosters patience, discipline, and a form of strategic courage. By protecting capital, he gains the freedom to take calculated risks that others cannot afford. Every move is informed by the question, will this allow me to fight another day? This approach imbues every decision with a sense of purpose and control, creating an environment where opportunity can be pursued relentlessly yet safely. Ultimately, protecting capital above all else is a philosophy of empowerment. It enables resilience in the face of uncertainty, agility in the face of change, and boldness in the pursuit of extraordinary outcomes. Druckenmiller's track record demonstrates that the preservation of the foundation is not merely defensive, it is the enabler of strategic offense, the key to acting decisively, and the mechanism by which high-stakes opportunities can be pursued with confidence. By safeguarding resources, he ensures that every move is made from a position of strength, where risk is calculated, judgment is clear, and the potential for transformative success is maximized.